Hello everyone, I'm Nick Peters, a gaming theologian, and I affirm the virgin birth. Was William Paley right to say the universe is like a watch? Okay, so we're going to go back through Chapter 6 here again. I do have a new controller plugged in. Again, it seems to be working fine, and I've also got... I've had it for a couple months now, ever since I started showing, but I've got a 4-port thing plugged into my Switch, so I can easily switch back and forth between controllers, if need be. I hope that won't have to happen. But last time I'd thought about talking about something known as the music of the spheres. I didn't know how long it would take me to get through Chapter 4, which it didn't take long at all. And I got through Chapter 5 a lot faster than I thought I would. I really screwed up with that one there. Anyway, in Chapter 5 has that area with a piano, so you might not remember that, but I wanted to go with a music or theme there a little bit. And it works with what I've been talking about with the doctrine of God, and especially the fifth way of Thomas Aquinas, which is his design argument. Now, someone like Richard Dawkins, for instance, looks at this and says, oh, this is just Paley's argument again, and evolution answers this, and all this stuff, which just demonstrates that he really should stick to science instead of going in these areas, because Aquinas' argument has absolutely nothing to do with that kind of thing. I'd even argue that not only is evolution not a refutation of Aquinas' argument, it actually fits in with Aquinas' argument. Now, that doesn't mean evolution is true. It just means if it is, it's not a problem for Aquinas. And it shouldn't be for you or I as well. Where it depends on how you want to interpret Genesis, I suppose. But just on the basis of Christian theism, no. Evolution is not a problem for Christian theism. It's not even a problem. It's definitely not a problem with just theism in general. Again, I'm not saying evolution is true. I'm not saying it's false. I've got my own questions about the topic. But what I like to do is just grant my opponent as much as I can and still work from there. So when I encounter an atheist, I usually say to them, okay, I'm going to grant you evolution for the sake of argument. Now make your case against God. It's usually something they're not prepared for. Now, one of the most famous design arguments, and one that a lot of people who aren't apologists and don't study these kinds of topics still know about, is the... Okay, that is a problem with this new controller, is that the buttons on a line, like what I think should be the pause button, is actually the home button. So that was a screw up on my part. I'm going to have to remember that from now on. But the design argument mainly Paley's argument. William Paley, and he deserves to be remembered for so much more than just the design argument. He was a brilliant intellectual in his time, should still be seen as one today. Just look through his book, Evidences of Christianity. It's much more than just, well, here's a watch. If you know Dr. Tim McGrew, you know this where he's introduced you to him before. Which, a shout out to the Library of Historical Apologetics. Go to that site, and you can get a whole lot of free books there, absolutely free, by great apologists of the past, and a lot of the arguments still hold up today. So, Paley's argument was that you wander through the woods and you come across a watch. Doesn't it make sense to think that that watch is designed? Well, yes. Yes, it does. And he compared this to many things in nature, like, say, the eye, or other things that we also think are designed in the same way. And then along comes Darwin, and you get what Richard Dawkins calls the blind watchmaker. His book begins with the assertion that biology is a study of things that look like they were designed for a purpose. And his whole book is to show you, but biology will show you that there is no purpose, there is no design to it, it's just all evolution happening. Now, it could be that it is evolution happening, but that doesn't mean there's still not design to it all. An argument usually used in favor of this position is that we do hold, according to Psalm 139, that a baby is knit together in its mother's womb, but that doesn't necessitate that God is micromanaging every single baby in the womb. And to which I say, fair point. Fair point. But is Dawkins right, though? Still, do we have a hard case against theism if we lose this? Well, part of the problem I see with Paley's argument, regardless, is I think he has the wrong view of the universe by comparing it to a watch. Now, I'm always open that someone who knows Paley much better than I do can come along and say, well, he wouldn't be so hard and fast on that point. That's fine. But generally, if we think of things, I love that item so much. If we think of things in a sense of the universe being a watch, where a watch is a machine. And once a machine is built, the person who built the machine isn't needed anymore. Someone could build a watch, tragically die, and the watch can still work just fine. Another area where this is the case also is, frankly, you. If your parents die in a tragedy, your existence is not contingent on that. I'm not saying that your life isn't altered in any way. Of course it should be. But you don't go out of existence just because your parents die. You can go on just fine still. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's nothing here. But the problem with this is this can just get you right to deism. Alright, let's take care of Broken Joe here first. I believe that's what his name is. Whew. And deism is just the idea that God created the universe and then he left to play a round of golf or something, and he's no longer active in the universe. And the concept of God as just a watchmaker can fit in just fine with that. So if you have the universe as a watch, then yes, you can have a god, but it could just as easily be a deistic god. So what I want to propose is a concept that I think goes all the way back to Pythagoras and was used in Boethius and was a part of astronomy in the Middle Ages. I think Copernicus even wrote something on it. If it wasn't him, it was Kepler. I don't remember right off. But one of the great astronomers did. And that's a topic known as the music of the spheres. And you even find this in writers like C.S. Lewis, where I think you find this in his space trilogy with the spheres. And the whole concept is, what if the universe isn't a machine? What if instead of being a machine, it's actually more like a symphony? What if it's music? And if the universe is music, where it needs something to keep it going, it needs a musician. Okay, come on. think I'm starting to see the pattern that I need to go. Yeah, that was easy that time. And good, we're through that dungeon now. Imagine, if you will, that you wake up one morning and you go outside, and there, outside your front door, is a great big glass orb. And you ask, what caused this? It's a good question. Because, you know, glass orbs don't just appear out of nowhere. There is something that causes them. And you want to know what caused this one to appear. I don't remember exactly which way I'm supposed to go here. I want to make sure I get everything that I can before I go forward any. Like this. But instead now, let's go to... Yeah. Oh, as I see my friend Roger has shown up in the chat. And you all check out his YouTube channel, Roger Maxson, even though he is a loser. Okay? I hate to say it, but actually I don't hate to say it. Yeah, Roger and I are very good friends. We go back a long way, so I'm required by law to insult him every time he shows up in the chat. But now you go out and you hear music playing. You don't ask what caused music normally. Instead, you seem to make it present tense. What is causing this? Because once the music stops playing, it's as if the cause has gone away. The thing is, you could just as well say that with the orb as well. The orb is not the cause of its own existing. Something else is causing it. We often have this idea that once something comes into existence, well, there it is, and that's it. But that's not what we see in Scripture. We see in Scripture, for instance, that Job's friend Elihu says that if God withdrew his breath, all life would perish. A big rock, metal melted by some great heat, 3 holes where something used to be, and you can't read the cipher. And yes, Job's friends got a lot of things wrong, but they got that right. And you also have Colossians, where it says, by him all things exist. It's not just by him all things came into existence. All things exist in him. God holds together everything. If God was not, the universe would not be. Now, a trick to those dagger things is they always close in on where you are. Okay, this thing is a very cool weapon. Let's watch and see what it does. I got another person in chat. Thanks for joining in. So, the idea is God holds everything together. Every single moment of your existence is held together by God. And even if you took a route like, say, suicide, which of course you shouldn't, you would be moving from, I believe at least, one state of existing to another state of existing. You would still be in the arms of God, no matter what. and he will judge what happens to you in that case. Well, this would be great if I had missing life already. So when we see the orb, we really can ask, what is causing this? And then the idea we want to have when we look at the universe is that the universe, it's not really a machine. It's more like a symphony. It is music. And what we can say is that when sin enters the world, it's a bad note that changes the symphony. Because that's where you have to think outside the box in this game. And I would argue to you that the resurrection of Jesus is what's known as the crescendo moment, where everything starts going the way it should. Now technically this guy is more of a mini boss. You don't want to get perpendicular to him, or he does that. That's why I try and use my weapon in a way that the attack will hit and I'll be gone by then. Anyway, I am thinking for longer games, doing some more RPGs, but I'd like to do them, but a lot of them, they have characters to name, and I thought maybe what I could do to get people really interested with this would be, since I encourage you all to like, comment, share, and subscribe, become donors as well. What I'm doing is that if you really want a character to have a specific name in an RPG that I go through, consider making a donation, and I'd be more than that. I really don't like going that route, but I need to give some incentives, and it's hard to think of them, honestly. But if that's something you're fine with, let me know. And that way you could kind of honor someone who means a great deal to you by having their name immortalized in a game in a YouTube video. It's just a suggestion I'm thinking about. Let me know what you all think. But yes, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe, because everything I do here, it's done through people like you. I mean, it's not the case that I just sit here and these ideas just pour naturally into my head. No, this is from years of study and research. I gotta say, this was a whole lot easier when I was growing up. Okay, the key to avoid those blades is they zoom in on where you were when they started coming up. So we'll just get out of the way. But anyway, I want you all to think of the universe much more as music than as a machine. And when you look at Aquinas' argument for design, once you know it's not Paley's argument, it changes things. Now, I'm not saying Paley's argument is a bad argument. Insofar as it goes, yes, design makes sense of a lot of things. In case you're wondering, that thing is kind of like a bubble in Zelda. Keeps me from using my weapon. You think two little things like that, they'd be easy to avoid, but no. This is super annoying. Yeah, I think I'm in some trouble here. Everything I do here before I get back to Paley and Aquinas is done by listeners like you, watchers like you, that I have to read and study a lot to do these things, and being in a PhD program is expensive, and that's also day-to-day living expenses as well. So, if you're blessed by what you hear, please consider making a donation, becoming a Patreon, even just $5 a month. The price of, say, a cup of coffee would mean a lot. I wish I had remembered that earlier. Well, that's a gift right there. Let's see if I need to use that or not. Yes, I need to use that. Now we got two of these things here. You don't want to be perpendicular anymore, so get back to talking about Aquinas after we finish this. Okay, I hadn't wanted to use these, but I will now. One down. Okay. So now getting back to Aquinas. What is his fifth way arguing exactly then? If it's not Paley's argument, what is it? Oh yes, I remember what's coming here. I'll say it was nice of a boss at least to make sure I had health here. See, the thing with this boss is you have to concentrate on two levers. You have to focus on when your weapon is going to divide while making sure you don't get hit by their projectiles. it is a lot harder than it looks. Come on. Whew. Aquinas is more arguing from regular cause and effect, that because things happen in an orderly fashion in the universe, that there is a source of the order. Edward Fraser, Thomistic scholar, says to imagine an iceberg floating through the Antarctic. As it moves along, all water nearby gets colder. It doesn't turn to cotton candy or anything like that. He says if you have A and A regularly causes B, that's enough. Uncle Steve. Yep, you found your uncle here. But this isn't the end of the story. A month ago, he found a big rock in these ruins. He heard the cipher told an incredible story, a faraway planet called Argonia. The Argonians battled evil aliens. They were destroyed. They sent their last escape pod to Earth. The rock is the remains of that pod, and was carrying 3 powerful magic cubes. They are very important. And the aliens chased those cubes to Earth and abducted Dr. J to get at them. No, I don't want you to repeat it. And he revealed the locations of the cubes. And now you're going to the alien spaceship to get them back. Amazing that an adventure set on a tropical island quickly turned into defeat aliens. And you all know I love my little jingle here. And even though we're in an alien spaceship now, some things never change. Cube hopping. So, Aquinas, if you regularly have A causing B, that's all you need. And A causes B because of what it is. So, if Aquinas encountered someone like, say, David Hume, who tried to argue that just because you drop a stone 1,000 times and it falls doesn't mean it's going to fall the 1,001st time, he would have likely just laughed at that. Seriously? That's what you think? Seriously? Yes, I see that item over there, and I'll tell you why I'm not getting it right now, just yet. I want to make sure I don't take any damage, because what this does, it refills all your health and beyond, but then it drops you down until it stops at what your maximum health is at the time. Now, why is this not a problem? Why is it then that, say, something like evolution is not a problem for the Thomistic position? Because, believe it or not, evolution depends on what is known as final causality, which is what the argument assumes. There's final causes between things. This is how things work together. And what's the end goal of evolution? Survival of the fittest. Says, but that's not a conscious end goal. Evolution doesn't plan that. Irrelevant. It's no more relevant than the fact that the iceberg doesn't plan to make water cold, but that is what happens. An acorn doesn't plan to become a tree, but it becomes a tree. Unfortunately, I don't remember my way around here exactly. So a lot of this is going to be trial and error. I do remember some things about this. So when I look at an evolutionary argument, I can look and say, yes, isn't it the way that wonderful way that the universe is just designed to produce things like this? And that's not a problem for me. Okay, did not do so good that time. I don't know how far we're going to get through Chapter 7 tonight, but we'll try to get as far as we can. It's amazing, isn't it, that a simple little yo-yo can still take down an alien spaceship. You'd think the aliens would be more advanced than that, but I guess not. Now, again, keep in mind, when I say this, I'm not a scientist. I'm not saying evolution is true, but I'm also not saying it's false. I'm saying that as far as I'm concerned, from a theistic perspective, it doesn't matter. Now, you could say it might matter for, say, questions of how you interpret Genesis or something along those lines, but that's not a question I'm really concerned about right now, because I'm more interested in establishing theism. And keep in mind, in Aquinas' day, this wasn't a live debate, per se, and his arguments are being made saying that if all we have is just reason alone, how far can we go? And the answer is apparently pretty far. Have I mentioned how hard this lever is? Folks, there's a reason Nintendo games back in the day were said to be Nintendo hard. And yes, I know some of you are thinking, use the spike shoes, use the spike shoes. There's a reason I'm not. See what happens if I go this way. Nothing good, apparently. Well, quadruple hearts definitely help there. I say those pink aliens are some of the most annoying ones here. Okay, come on, come on. You know you want to. You want to get a little bit closer. Powerful aliens taken down by a yo-yo. Well, we made it further than we have before here, so. No, design arguments, I think, actually work better when we treat the universe not as a machine, as we're prone to, but as music. The music of the spheres, the planets working in alignment, as it were. That's why music was taught alongside astronomy in medieval education. The universe is not a machine. It is a beautiful piece of music. And while there are some bumps along the road in it, due to the problem of evil, it still doesn't change that it is a symphony. It's the masterpiece of God. And we should celebrate it as such. We should recognize the beauty the universe possesses. I think I'm going to try and go this way from now on, by virtue of what it is. I'm not telling you don't use your classical arguments like, say, the nature of a cell and how intricately designed it's made. That can work if you're capable of making it. One of my rules I have along these lines is that if you are not a scientist or you do not study science seriously, don't make scientific arguments. And in some ways, I can say I actually learned that from the New Atheist. Because I looked at the way they handled things like philosophy and theology and things of that sort and said, I don't want to handle their fear the way they handle mine. And so I made a point, I'm going to stay out of an area where I don't know something. So now, here's where we're going to use the spikes. Yeah, that made things a whole lot easier, didn't it? One of the rules I've given one of my friends in a PhD program is if you can't back it, don't claim it. Don't put anything in a paper that you can't back. And it's a simple rule. And if you're not a scientifically minded person, it's okay to avoid scientific arguments. I'm not such a person, So when I encounter scientific objections, I point them to people who do answer those questions. I'm more than happy about the philosophy of science or the history of science. And my weapon can now become the supernova, but I have to have a full row of hearts in order to use it. So I can't use it yet. But when I can use it, oh, it is nice. So, check this out here. All the way across the screen, baby. You do not have to answer every question. You're not capable of answering every question. And frankly, it's arrogance to think that you're going to be. Choose your specialty, and if it's not science, that's fine. Leave those questions to those that can answer them. You go where you can answer the questions. Come on, jump up. We're going to see if we can finish this chapter tonight. And if we can, there's just one chapter left. Yeah, it's very Zelda-esque to look for cracks in the wall. And the supernova reaches further and does more damage. It's a win-win. Apparently the aliens didn't get a whole lot of intelligence with their advanced technology because they jumped right into the spot of oncoming attacks like that. Okay, so I've lost the supernova for now, but that's okay because I can still reach this guy. Sorry guys, I'm not going to stick around and play. Gotta watch everything from all angles here. Now this ray gun, it has a shorter range, but it does more damage. So, cost-benefit analysis, I suppose. You know, you pretty much want to keep launching at these things until they stop coming. Because there is a pause in there. Don't need that ray gun. So, no bother risking it. Yeah, there's nothing you can do to defeat that thing. So it's best to just wait until it passes. there that thing is again. So come on, big guy. This guy really isn't too difficult once you learn the pattern. Well, see, I think the first part of the alien spaceship is the hardest one. And notice that if Aquinas' argument is true also, then Dawkins really doesn't have an objection that he can raise to it. And what a shock, he's totally misunderstood the argument. But someone could say, well, what about his other argument that he uses? The Boeing 747 argument. And yeah, it's my plan to actually talk about that argument next time, looking more into the doctrine of God, so that's just a preview of what I want to do coming up. Here, we're not going to talk about that tonight, because that's much more complex than I can get into in such a short time. It's so nice of the aliens also to leave so many power-ups for me here. This is a pretty simple puzzle to figure it out. Once you see where everything's going, that everything just advances forward one step, and you want to avoid the red. What you want to do with this boss is get him as far away as you can. Which it wasn't wise for him to be on this area like that, but advanced technology apparently doesn't mean advanced brains. So we're nearing the end of this chapter. I'm going to get that last cube, and then that's going to be it for the night. But I really want your all's feedback. Do you like the idea of having you all pick names for characters in an RPG that I could do? Like, for instance, if I did Final Fantasy VI next, there are several characters in there. Although, no, definitely I won't do any names that are inappropriate. There, I don't think that's a problem, but I want to say it anyway. You know, I want your feedback. If there's any games you want me to play, any topics you want me to discuss, let me know. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, if a topic's outside of my wheelhouse, I'll say so. If it's not, I'm very open to it. If it's for a game, if I have the access to it, that probably won't be a problem. But we'll see. People, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Right now, at this point, we have, I think, 134 subscribers. I'd love to get more. I do have a Discord set up. If you're interested in that, let me know. And remember that I do depend on you all on Patreon. Every little bit you give can help. And my idea is just simply a way to give an incentive, something I can give to you for giving to me. And here's the second magic cube and what it does. Oh yeah. So you definitely go into the final chapter with 4 hearts. Now for the last cube. But the ship is taking off. And now we're flying over the islands. And the final battle, we're going to save that for next time. But friends, thanks for coming by. And yeah, if Roger's still here, you all go check out his channel sometime on YouTube. I mean, I'm personally, he's Catholic, so we're not going to have 100% agreement, but I do support his apologetics work. And he and I have a great story together of how our worlds intersected. Definitely worth checking out. And that's going to be it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, friends, whatever you do, do it for the glory of God, including your gaming.